schools, the solution to the illness of the patient is not to alter the diet, not to relocate this poor person to a healthier climate, maybe for some fresh air and some sunlight. The answer is to increase the dosage, and that is what we are hearing from the Hamilton County Superintendent. Dr. Rick Smith, in today's front page paper, highlights a presentation he gave yesterday to folks in Ooltewah. A couple hundred people attended his revival style meeting, as is somewhat humorously described in Tim Omarzu's story on the front page above the fold of the Chattanooga Times-Free Press. The headline is "Reviving Schools." Well, there's not really revival, there's not really reform in view here in Hamilton County. And if you are from another county, if you're from Marion County, possibly, where you live in South Pittsburgh, maybe Jasper, or Sequatchie County up in Dunlap, if there are reforms proposed and revivals proposed in the county schools there, well, they're not really reforms. They're sort of ersatz reforms, if they're called that at all. They may take on some of the national dialogue that are considered reform-oriented language, but there's not really reform. There's just an increase of the dosage. The deck on this story says Rick Smith makes passionate call for more school funding. He's asking for about $35 million more to pay for the labor expenses of public schools. Well, increasing the dosage makes us wonder. Well, this is, after all, a business, right? It is the largest business in Hamilton County. It is a cartel, meaning it has a special favor in law that gives it a kind of guaranteed income. Now, you, my listener, have a business and don't have any such guarantees. You don't have anyone forcing your customers to your door and into your lobby to make purchases. They have to come there of their own free will, and because you have, by inducement or by reputation or maybe by a special, you have encouraged your customer to come, and you serve him and hope he comes back. There's no promise that he will. He's not forced to come back by anyone outside with a revolver saying, well, yeah, you got your dose today, but you're going to have to come back in 2 weeks to get some more of that product from you, the listener. Well, that's not how the free market works, and that's not really how capitalism, as defined in its true sense, works. There are so many deviations. There's so many malformations of the idea of capitalism. You just have to laugh. In fact, the vocabulary to describe it would take a couple of pages of individual words. But we have debt capitalism. We have oligarchical capitalism, where capitalism and the prosperity that buying and selling brings comes to people who have a special favor granted to them. From where? Well, from the state in some form, from a statute, a federal law, maybe a regulation, or a state law, and they are granted a market power. They're granted a kind of monopoly power. And as we're hearing about this story that is going to be repeated in the press in various levels of prominence in the next few days, we want to think about Hamilton County Public Schools, typical of your county as well. Your county may have some different numbers than those here in Hamilton County, but the story is the same. It is a kind of a tedious, in ways, a kind of a tedious chore for me to do here at Nuganomics.com. But that's what we do. We are the radio station that does the heavy lifting, and I'm the editor of Nuganomics.com, the website, which is a free market website that covers local economy and the free market. And I try to do heavy lifting there and here. Here I don't have to sit and on a keyboard. I just tell you what's on my mind. I tell you what we have discovered. And looking at Tim Omarzu's story today, very fine story about the event in Ooltewah. Rick Smith is quoted as saying, "We are giving teachers and principals pennies to run the schools. They can't even buy paper, folks." This is this is a pullout quote in red type. under a picture of him standing surrounded by taxpayers, I guess, and consumers of this free public service. He wants, he says the $34 million increase would require what's called a 40 cent property tax rise. That's a 40 cent increase per $100 valuation of a piece of property. And the common description given in the past couple of weeks here in Hamilton County is that it would raise the tax on a $150,000 house by about $150 per year. Now, he's again. There's a story that the funding of the school system is lamentable. That pencils are not able to be obtained by teachers. Not even paper, folks, is available to the teaching staff, who are, of course, state employees. Another embarrassment. Tim Omarzu quotes Dr. Smith as saying, "We're holding the school system together with tape and glue. We don't paint schools. Some of our schools I'm embarrassed to go by." Well, again, this is the idea that there's a capital budget that's not being met, and to maintain the property and to maintain the value of these brick and mortar stores, if you will, where the customer is forced into purchasing, is degrading, right? These are investments and expenses. They're investments if you look at this in terms of capitalism, right? But they're expenses if you look at this in terms of the public weal and the relationship between the state and civil government and the people who are burdened with this cartel. The story points out several other things that maybe I can mention as we go along. There's, of course, high talk about Chattanooga per se and Hamilton County. A lot of interesting things are going to happen in Chattanooga. Dr. Smith says they're going to take Chattanooga to different places, and he's referring to county government and big business coming to town, Volkswagen, for example. And he also cites the city government's innovation district downtown near City Hall, which is something connected with Lamppost Group and the aggregation of like-minded, digitally oriented new businesses. But in the end, the solution for Hamilton County, probably in your county too, if you're in Marion or Bradley or Sequatchie County, is just more business as usual. And so it is to the business that I want to turn, the business of public education, which is a scheme here that does not have to respond to market forces. Now, when I say that, you think, David's saying that parents aren't the party in view, that the schools are not responsive to parents. Well, that's right. But if you think about it in a more than superficial manner, the market forces are, as we think, the parents, right? The families of students, the 43,000 students in the cartel. But in fact, the marketplace being owned by the state has that is the marketplace. The marketplace is, what does the state want? The clientele is not the family; it is the state itself, and you might say the deep state. Even in Tennessee, there is a deep state, a state behind the state, and the components of that would include standard setting organizations, pedagogical organizations, universities, think tanks, some of the elite schools who have people graduating with doctorate and master's degrees who are policymakers. Okay, that's the name for them. They're policymakers and they're sociologists, and they are involved in human management. And many of them, they're involved in human management schemes. They're mid-level people, right? They're not the elites. The elites have, they're not really in view here as we look at Hamilton County. But the clientele is the state itself, and the parents, they're just led to think the public schools are for them and their children. Of course, the people who staff them, the ones for whom Dr. Smith is trying to obtain a pay raise, they are, I think, genuinely caring of their charges. There's no doubt about that. That in general, teachers in the public sector care about their charges and in a way resent the programming that they are required by their minders, right, by their supervisors and their principals and administrators to impose upon the classroom, some of which are just very alienating. And well, if we look at if we look holistically, if to use that word at public education in Hamilton County, I would say that we're looking at a kind of a cancer. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. That's on a note on a page of the county account books for the year, dealing with retirees. But school is, in fact, it's a giant business. And according to the balance, the comprehensive annual financial report balance sheet gives the total assets of the Hamilton County School Department as $236.5 million. I'm going to round up or down. Okay, let's just leave out the percentage, the fractions. $237 million for general purpose schooling. The total amount of governmental funds is $246 million. Liabilities of the school system, again, it's a corporation with its own budget and its own funding. It's a separate division of county government. Total liabilities are $66 million, and there are fund balances, and these all add up to be altogether, among including the cafeteria budget, the education capital budget, and the general purpose budget, to be $246 million. The school summary would include also, again, this is a kind of a business news here, right? Business news. This the county, again, separate from the school system, or the school system, I should say, is separate from the county. It has 6,265 workers, employees, and 42,837 students. So it's about an 8-to-1 ratio. What's the ratio in the classroom? It's 20-to-1. Well, the payroll would suggest that there should be eight students per teacher, but many hundreds of these people are not teachers at all. They're non-teaching professionals. And government school systems, government bureaucracies often tend toward padding and feather bedding. It's not something that's really avoidable when you have a government system. Hamilton County financed 48.8% of the school system's budget, or $203 million of this operating budget, and they paid for that by property taxes, sales taxes, and use of fund balance. And then also the government in Nashville and the government in Washington provided $197 million, and charges for services provided, that was a meager $11 million, and then some investment income provided about $4 million to Hamilton County Schools. The debt for schools is important. Remember, if you're running a business, you have to have debt. But you wonder why, if we've had public education in Hamilton County for so long, that we're still using capital. How come it's not living off of revenues like you and your business, right? You have to live off of capital, off of revenues. Not when you started up your business, you had to get capital, right? You had to be able to run without income for a year or two and pay yourself and pay your staff and make your bills. Well, that's capital when you're using that. But now that you're up, well, shouldn't you be running off of revenues that are earned? Well, okay, there we have another. The problem comes up again. Well, you have to earn your revenues, but the school system, it doesn't. It doesn't have to really earn revenues. It gets a grant from the good people. The debt for Hamilton County public education is it's $163 million owed by the county taxpayers. The total county debt is $238 million. So you have a total county debt, according to the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, of $238 million of Hamilton County, and about half of that is for the SCOOs, as they say, $163 million. And let's see. Yeah, I'm getting down to the pension costs. Okay. Okay, let's see. The Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the CAFR, points out that it mentions on page 16, it mentions in the initial announcements, you might say, that it refers to the bonded debt, and then goes on to say that Hamilton County is in a strong position financially, and our future is bright due to the sound management practices that have enabled the county to maintain solid fund balances and reserves. The county has consistently maintained a general fund balance equivalent to at least 3 months of expenditures. Now, again, that's very much in favor of Jim Coppinger and county government. But these men on the commission and women on the commission and our county mayor have an albatross on their necks. And somehow their successors need to think about getting public support behind a removal of this public school system. Now, I say that and you think, well, wait a minute, we have a successful public school system in Hamilton County. Yes, I know. And that because it's successful, we don't want to have it because its success is in directions that I think you would not favor. If you really thought about what they produce in the way of students and ideas and philosophies, life views, world views, and customs of thought, well, you might not be very happy with the success of public education. Public education makes men consumers, right? It makes men obedient civil servants. It makes men compliant. And the whole idea of voluntary compliance today, in fact, on tax day, how does that system ever work in voluntary compliance with federal tax law? Well, it works because public education makes people not ever look at what laws say, makes them not really ask what their obligations really are, but just do what they're told, right? And that's why we have a very successful tax system, because of voluntary compliance. Now, do schools generate revenue, right? Your business has to generate revenue. As do every small a business that Bruce Krebs helped start, for example. Bruce Krebs is a consultant, and he gets people into their own businesses, right? He's the kind of man we really pump here at Hot News Talk Radio, because we want you to engage him to get you into a franchise. That's what he does at Entrepreneur Source. He'll get you into a franchise suitable to your background, your interest, your capital availability, and all here in local economy, right? In South Pittsburgh, Jasper, Dunlap, Chattanooga. Call Bruce, by the way, at 875-5621, 875-5621. Well, Bruce would have you into a business that makes profit, and he will help you gain capital to work during the dry spell initially, right? But you're supposed to generate revenue in your business. You want to have enough service to the public that you generate revenue. Well, does Hamilton County School generate revenue? What do you think? Do you think that it does, or do you think that it doesn't? Well, in a chart on page Roman numeral 10, showing the expenses and program revenues for the fiscal year ending June 30, there are revenues generated, say, by the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Hammond has expenses of just under $30 million, but his revenues are $3.8 million. How's that? You can say, well, he's in a way he is the sheriff. He's not there for making money, but he does bring in some money. Criminal court costs $4 million and brings in more than $2.7 million in fines and so on. Now, here's a really good one. The ambulance services, probably the most profitable part of county government, is the ambulance services here in Hamilton County. $30 million in expense and revenues of $28 million, a $2 million shortfall. Well, schools produce no revenue whatsoever. None. Their expense is $32.5 million. Now, if we had a free market system in education, believe me, every provider of education, such as me, right? If I were the founder of a school, which I could well be, I would expect to make revenues to cover my expenses, right? And to pay for my light bill, right? To pay for groceries, to pay for car repairs at S&S Auto Repair, for example, and other things like that. Well, so schools produce no revenue. Again, not because they're governmental. No one expects them to, right? But think of this service in education as a business. It's a business, but it doesn't have to show a profit. It doesn't have to show a profit to the students either. Are schools ever held to account for making young people materialists, making them think that evolution is how man came about, and that we are all just brains? We're all just hair, spit, and bone, right? That's kind of what we are. If we believe in materialism, that's all we are. There is no ultimate justice. There is no ultimate law. There's no ultimate truth. again, as I say, our culture reflects the success of public education. Almost all of us have a default thinking in this direction, and I share it as well. I'm a public school product, if you will. I went through public university through a master's degree at UT, and I'm built this all these ideas are kind of baked into my idea. I have to fight them. I have to get myself out from underneath them. Well, there's more. There is more. And the pension, how is it that this comprehensive system takes care of everybody? And we've got this great schooling jobs program in Hamilton County, facing no market pressures. This is David Toulis. Hang on.
NASCAR, Laura Ingram, Dennis Miller, David Toulis, Coast to Coast AM, and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports leader.
Hot News Talk Radio, 910, 1190, and 1240 AM.
Hi, this is your computer speaking. I don't feel so well. It's like I've come down with a bug, and I'm getting slower.
Affordable Computers. We fix the computers. Your hometown guys at Affordable Computers will repair your PC in half the time of the big boys at an affordable price. No tricks, no gimmicks, no computer speak technobabble. Just good, quick, and courteous affordable service and repairs. Want to affordably supercharge your PC? Affordable Computers on Highway 58. Affordable Computers hand builds all desktops in-house. If you're looking for a better-than-new refurb laptop, $150 will get you a Dell or another name brand at Affordable Computers. Affordable Computers, Highway 58, between Arby's and Taco Bell. Also Fort O, Battlefield Parkway near Holcomb's. Affordable Computers, we service what we sell. Call 499-1975. That's 499-1975.
Wow, this is amazing. I'm feeling great. Supercharged.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nancy Reinhardt, inviting you to get a free session in our new Magnosphere. This is a device that improves your health through precisely tuned, low-frequency magnetic fields. As a chiropractor, I manage aches and pains, mainly in the back and neck. What's hurting you right now? And how long has it been there? Why put up with it any longer? I've been in practice for 28 years and know how to help. Chiropractic adjustments enable you to heal and to feel better. Call 875-8222. That's 875-8222. And remember, whether you come for chiropractic or not, you're invited to schedule your free Magnosphere session at 875-8222.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Okay, you get your taxes done by a franchise, but you're just a number. Your preparer might have had a 9-week course, but he's a number 2. Are you creating prosperity for your customers and yourself? EJ Pelton clears the thick underbrush of taxes, helps make your way straight. Don't let uncertainty dampen your local economy spirit. Look, come home. Let EJ Pelton Tax Service handle your taxes. Eric Pelton is the Chattanooga and Saudi Daisy tax specialist with 37 years under his belt. Eric Pelton also does bookkeeping and accounting to help you reach your entrepreneurial and financial goals. Confidential advice, consulting, and other services. Yours for the asking. EJPelton.com. That's EJPelton.com. Call 332-3339. That's 332-3339. Think ahead.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
If the South would have won, we'd have had it made. I'd probably run for president of the southern states. The day Elvis passed away would be our national holiday. If the South would have won, we'd have had it made.
NASCAR, Laura Ingram, Dennis Miller, David Toulis, Coast to Coast AM, and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports leader.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. A verdict and sentence handed down in the Aaron Hernandez murder trial.
First-degree murder, firearms, and ammunition charges, all guilty. The first-degree murder conviction carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole in the death of Odin Lloyd.
Fox News Radio's Tonya J. Powers. Fast food employees protesting nationwide, demanding a raise. This McDonald's worker in Chicago asking for $15 an hour.
I'm a single person, so I have no assistance from anywhere. And to just buy a few groceries and pay a few bills, you have to struggle.
Strikes have popped up in 230 cities. Questions regarding Hillary Clinton's use of a private email account while running the State Department go back over 2 years. A letter from GOP Congressman Darrell Issa in December of 2012 asks if any senior state officials were using private accounts to conduct government business. 3 months later, he got a response that didn't answer the question. A Clinton spokesman says it's old news. Fox News. We report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Toulis.
Love your neighbor, buy local. That's the theme here at Nooganomics.com. We think that if we focused on caring about local economy and trying to have personal economics, personal transactions versus just corporate, versus those that are simply based on price and convenience, we will have richer lives and we'll have more acquaintances, more, maybe even more friends than we have now. Our circle of acquaintances will expand. And if you, my listener, have more of a personal dealings in the economy, you're going to be able to come upon some poor person whom you can help, right? Someone who's lacking what you call social capital. You have a lot of it, my listener. I know you have a lot of it. And in having a local economy perspective, in shopping local as opposed to shopping corporate, in shopping small as opposed to shopping big, you will meet, let's say, a single mom with 2 children, one of whom is sick, whose car needs an oil change and the one fender is about to fall off. You're going to meet her because you've gone to the farmer's market or you've taken an interest in spending a little time with strangers. And you're going to say, look, there's a man at my church who can, or you don't go to church, but there's a man I know on my street who glad to help you. And let me see if I can get your car in order there. That's you are dispensing with social capital in that instance. And you need to have relationships like that. Not always looking to people above you in social capital, but beneath you. Because that's what, I would say that's what Christianity requires of its adherents. And it's generally a good thing still because you have a charitable frame of mind, even though you may not have Christianity, you, my listener. And so we want to have a local economy framework so that we can help people who are personally in need and not just looking out for ourselves, but looking out for others. And that's going to happen much more readily when you mix with local, as opposed to just doing everything in the antiseptic, the antiseptic Target or fine national shop. Near is better than far. Small is better than big. Simple than complex. Personal than corporate. And physical than abstract. There's a graph that I saw this morning from one of a libertarian writer pointing out migration. States that are gaining population are those with the lowest taxes and the most business-friendly systems of law. Texas is ranked very high with nearly 1.5 million gains in the period of 2005 to 2014. That's a 10-year period, more or less. Florida gaining 750,000, and North Carolina, Alabama, all gainers. Losers would be New Jersey. The greatest loser in this graphic from Laffer Associates, compiling U.S. Census data. The greatest loser is New York. There on the right side of the graphic with the deepest red, losing people to the tune of 1.5 million people who are emigrating from. Emigrating is when you leave immigrating with the I-M-M-I. That's when you arrive. So taxation and a hostile national economy-oriented economies with their taxes and their bean counters are losing. There's a story at RT about a Philadelphia cop admitting he planted drugs in a scheme that targeted people like you, people like you, my listener, white males, college boys wearing khaki pants, easy to intimidate, were the group's preferred targets. This is ex-officer Jeffrey Walker addressing from the witness box of jury. We'd catch them doing whatever they were doing. We'd scream at them, sometimes get physical. I'd slap them around. These guys crack under pressure. So he and other black officers in the group, one of them named Linwood Norman, were known as the Twin Towers and were often assigned by the ringleader, Thomas Licciardello, to rough up people. And now 46, Walker admitted he began stealing from crime scenes as a junior patrolman. He worked with the 6 defendants until 2009. He was arrested in 2013 when he broke into a jailed suspect's house to steal money and marijuana, only to find out that the suspect had been an FBI informant, and the whole operation was a sting. So here we have officers who are convicting people, planting drugs on them, harassing them. More than 160 drug convictions were overturned since Walker pleaded guilty, and 6 other officers were named in a 26-count indictment on charges ranging from racketeering, extortion, robbery to kidnapping and drug dealing. And there are, of course, civil claims pending against them. Something that shouldn't be pending is a call to duct the indoor air professionals. If you have duct work in your building or your home, which you do, have it cleaned out. If you have ducts, the indoor air professionals do your house, complete clean out of all the duct work, you'll get a free service worth $100, and that is the tidying up of your exit pipe from your laundry dryer, which is a fire hazard and a fire trap. So watch out for that. And this company formerly known as Duct Busters will take care of it for you. 876-9907. That's 876-9907. We're Hot News Talk Radio AM. You can follow us on Twitter and on your smartphone through the TuneIn app. Would just type in Hot News Talk Radio. And of course, online, you can minimize the screen. Our website is very simple, no pretenses, not trying to sell you anything, just streaming our lively discourse. I hope you'll give me a few minutes of your time. And the website is hotnewstalkradio.com, hotnewstalkradio.com. And also, just so you don't forget, there's a special today. There's always a special at Delia's, the authentic Mexican restaurant. And it's the taco platter. It's $1 off on the chicken or the beef version of that dish. It's $4.99 on the special. It's $1 off. Now, say to Maria or the waitress that you heard her on the radio, and you'll get a free iced tea. Just a good thing to ask for, since that lets Maria know that she's not wasting her money advertising here at Hot News Talk Radio. Well, public schools and Superintendent Rick Smith here in Hamilton County are typical. They're just like the ones in your county if you're not from the Chattanooga county, the county surrounding Chattanooga. And that is that when there's something needed, more tax money is needed, there's a kind of a display of reform, and they are kind of simulacrum reform, they're kind of phony reforms. Often there's not really much in the way of change, but there is simply an increase in the dosage. And Rick Smith on the front of the Chattanooga Times Free Press, in a box attached to reporter Tim Omarzu's story, has 10 enhancements, right? There are 10 things we're going to do with the extra $35 million, including more instructional resources and support, and also to increase options for students to graduate, including adult and virtual high school, and other things which all seem very laudable. But public schools are, they are a cartel. They do not have to respond to market pressures. If you assume that the market is the family, and I think that's a mistake. The marketplace for a public school, the clientele is not the family, except in the way of marketing and pretense. It's the state itself, and the minders of the state, and even people behind the government, right? You have the government, and then you have behind it the state. They are not the same thing, right? The government is the face of the state, the human face that we, whose members, some of them, we elect, right? We give the government, we give the state the face of government by elections. And then, of course, Governor Haslam and others name and hire people as high officials, commissioners, and, commissars. Again, furthering the face. Herbert Slattery III, the Attorney General. You see his face splattered all across the web when he is opining that giving the Bible a point of favor in some of the state's selections of notable things, that's unconstitutional. Well, there's his face, right? These faces are to kind of reassure us, to make us think that the state is personal, that somehow it cares for us. Rick Smith, in his presentation yesterday at Ottawa, said, among other things, according to Tim Omarzi, we are giving teachers and principals pennies to run the schools. They can't even buy paper, folks. It sounds very dramatic. It's just shocking how neglected this institution is, whose budget passes $400 million. He says, for example, let's see. We read that. Okay. Well, there's a struggle implied, and the problem is lack of funding. But public schools are indeed a business, and the more you think of it as a business, the less holiness, the less virtue, I think you'll let yourself attach to it, right? To your idea of Hamilton County Public Schools. If you're like most people, you know that public education is in a continuing crisis. It's been in a crisis from as long as you can remember, even when you were a student in those desks. But not here, right? Here and now, we're not in a crisis, and things are really not that bad here. And that's because of the grace of individual people who work in the system, teachers and custodians and administrators and people you've had to call on the phone, and you've gotten good treatment. And so that personal relationship makes you not see what's there. Okay. And it's perfectly understandable. There's no one at fault that happens, but it does happen. But it is a machine, and it is a factory school. If you look at schools holistically, you'll think of them, I think, as a cancer, as a cancer on the marketplace that we all want to nurture, and we all want it to survive because it's our school. It belongs to us. And we know people who are connected to it. We know, since there are indeed more than 6,000 employees of Hamilton County Schools, we all have a stake in their surviving. We don't want people we know to go on unemployment, right, or to have to start looking for work in a legitimate profession. We don't want that to happen. So we are very sympathetic to public education on account of individuals we know. And I'd say that's because those individuals are made in God's image, right? And because they're made in God's image, we have a natural sympathy to their situation, to their persons. And so we relinquish, in a way, our market analysis. And I understand why people do that. I don't fault anybody for it. And yet, still, I would like to suggest that it is a kind of a cancer. We'll look, just for example, at pension costs. According to the comprehensive annual financial report for the county for the fiscal year ending in June, the pension costs of there are two main pensions. The city and county workers go directly into the Tennessee Comprehensive Retirement System, which is a giant slush fund worth more than the state itself. But they go directly into that, and on their behalf, Hamilton County, for workers in the county system, not in the school system, which is separate, the county pays $14.5 million. Okay, well, you can say, okay, that's fine. These are city and county bureaucrats. Okay. The teachers go into another part of TCRS, that is the Tennessee Comprehensive Retirement System, and they go into a thing called the name almost makes me laugh. It's called the set heap. Okay, the set heap. I know people who work in school systems say that with a bit of amusement, and that's the state employees, teachers, and higher education employees pension plan run by the TCRS. So set heap, with a couple of P's at the end, kind of bastard words that come out of bureaucracy. It receives the funding for teachers, and here's how much the taxpayers and people who pay federal taxes and others who pay into the federal system all contribute to the county school budget. $15.42 million in 2014. The year before, it was $14.6 million, and in 2012, taxpayers put in for the benefit of retirees $14.7 million. And I have a number here of the total. Let's see, I think it's about 600 retirees. It seems like an awfully small number, but I can't find it right offhand here as I shuffle through my papers. But it is a giant business, and it contributes to it's the main expense for county government. You, my listener, live in a house in the county, if you do, and half your tax bill goes to pay for this system. The property tax is the main source of revenue for county government. It produced $125.6 million last year. The beer and liquor tax, in comparison, pulled in together about, let's see, beer was 5.9 million and liquor 2.2. So that's about $9 million. The gross receipts tax pulled in again, just for comparison's purposes, 4.8 million. The franchise tax pulled in 4.2 million. The hotel motel tax about 5 million. Other taxes 162,000 for a total tax take by the county government of $148 million and some change. And that's a lot of money coming in, taken by, well, you could say it's paid voluntarily, but it is in fact not really voluntary, because there's economic coercion behind it. If you don't pay the tax on your house, you will certainly have it sold after getting some dunning notices from the official who handles that on the county courthouse steps. And of course, it'll be sold to an investor who will maybe try to sell it back to you if you, for some reason, can't or won't pay. There's a gross debt. Let's see. I've got debt figures for the city. The city's debt is just under $1 billion, and the gross debt for the county is it's higher than I thought it was. It's 844.6 million or 0.7 million. County debt is again $844.7 million, and the debt tends to be, if I remember reading from the city's numbers, it's payable, for the next 25 years out or so. That's how far out the debt payments are extended. And let's see here. I used to get, last year I got hard copies of county and city CAFRs, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Now they're digital, and it's not quite as convenient. On the other hand, I print out just the pages I want to mention to you, right? But the debt for Chattanooga proper, which of course doesn't run schools, the city government got out of the school business. The total debt of primary government indebtedness is $977.6 million. So nearly $1 billion. You can read some of the details at Chattanoogan.com that has been gracious enough to publish that note from me yesterday. And that figure of $977.6 million comes at the end of a 14-page chart, and that's on page E24, by the way, in the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And that's an important document for anybody who wants to know what's going on in city or county government. It's almost a net worth statement. It doesn't say everything that it needs to, but it does say a lot. Now, you asked me, well, how is it that public schools are not responsible? What is the evil that they bring? Well, I'm relying here on one of my favorite writers, and he has a book of essays called The Exhausted School. His name is John Taylor Gatto, and he says that schools dismember human associations. One of the consistent goals of what he calls the utopian procedure is detachment of subjects from partisan human enthusiasms. Acting with detached intelligence is what utopias are all about. But a biological puzzle intrudes. Detaching intelligence from emotional life is tantamount to killing the natural organism. The feat has never been actually performed in physical terms, although imaginative writers have been endlessly intrigued by the challenge. He goes on to say that utopian thinking despises variety and competition. In this regard, the tendency of utopians to enlarge their canvas to include the whole planet is provocative. They regard national sovereignty as irrational, sentimental claptrap. Businessmen get richest when they swim in the world economy, not alone in their native system, meaning local economy, right? Not alone in their local economy. And reason would seem to hold that analogy true for world personalities as opposed to legal ones. The utopian mind holds that democracy is a polluting disease. We need one world, and that one world should reasonably be under the direction of an elite, as Plato describes an elite in his Class of Guardians. Democracy degrades the hierarchy necessary to operate a logical republic. He goes on to say, an interesting aspect of nearly all utopias since the 16th century has been their addiction to inhuman machinery in place of human affections as the goal of a satisfying life. Often the visions of mechanical marvels to come have been uncanny in their precision. Sometimes it seems to think about a thing is tantamount is having it. A sort of Aladdin's lamp exists in this regard in utopian fictions. And there is a kind of dream about the idea of reform, that reform is a kind of magic. He says reform is a concept most central to utopian thinking. All utopias spring from a desire to escape the world as it is, as that is self-evident. But more is at stake than that. The techniques of reform are a species of magic intended to change natural reality. Utopias are blueprints for change. He says, bit by bit, they become the inspiration for the architecture of statecraft. In the absence of other continuous blueprints, it is only natural that they do this, since dissatisfaction is endemic to human societies. And he says, everyone who lives under such regulation is partially dehumanized. Utopian thinking allows a strange feeling of dispassionate objectivity to pervade the arena of life. It makes opposition very hard to organize or maintain, since even obvious victims of such social discipline have a difficult time explaining what is wrong. Furthermore, systematic states have an answer to everything. Systematic philosophy means never being caught with your pants down, even when you are. All mistakes are honest mistakes. And systematic philosophies come equipped with contingency plans, which bail them out of the worst messes that they make. A striking example of this phenomenon is, and he cites Japan and Germany, who recovered after the war. And the idea of public education, which rose in this country in the mid-19th century, is utopian. It is, we are going to create a new man, a new model man, a new city. And we've lost sight of that purpose. And I think if we had sight of it, we might object. So it's good in a way that we don't know why we have public education and public schools with their gigantic budgets and their whining superintendents. We have to understand that what they are serving is a concept of human management, a psychological, industrial management of people. And the best way to change people is to get control of their children, to make them think like they do, to make them think that consumption is very good, that immediate pleasure matters most, that you can't have an idea unless it's verified immediately and progressively by your colleagues, right, by your mates. That's, the kind of group thinking, team learning program that's been common for decades. It has also the very important virtue of relative thinking, where there is no fixed standard, there's no fixed law about anything, but things are negotiated. Truth is negotiated as you go, depending upon the circumstances. And if power can be brought to bear, if resources can be brought to bear, then we make a decision, right? We make a decision. And then because we're mature and grown up and we're Americans, we can live with the consequences. We can assess the consequences of our actions and thereby be satisfied that we've done everything we could. And that is the future. That is the reform ahead for public schools. But the tide is against public education. The factory school has already lost the war. It's lost the war to the digit, to the internet, to decentralization. And that latter ladder idea is a massive, it's a global trend. And we are hoping that you, my listener, will take advantage of it here in local economy, going into the free market, understanding the free market, and living out the ideals of capitalism. This is David Toulis. I've got something I want you to hear. Hang on.
NASCAR, Laura Ingram, Dennis Miller, David Toulis, Coast to Coast AM, and CBS Radio News. Chattanooga's news, talk, and sports leader.
Hot News Talk Radio, 910, 1190, and 1240 a.m.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network. Coverage continues Sunday here at Live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out this Sunday live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240.
If you have the DTs, the shakes, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out? Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life.
You do not have to be living with constant pain. You need to make the choice today to enjoy a revitalized body. You deserve to live a better pain-free life. And Dr. Ross can help. At Ross Chiropractic, failure is not an option. For over 40 years, Dr. Ross, a graduate of the prestigious Palmer College of Chiropractic, prided himself in helping and healing. The Ross method of chiropractic care is unique in developing a treatment designed just for you. And Ross Chiropractic makes this promise to you. If he believes that he can't help relieve your pain, he will guide you to another health practitioner to assist you. Feel better now. You owe it to yourself. You really do. Call Dr. Ross now at 954-9591. That's 954-9591. And visit Dr. Ross at 7405 Shallowford Road, Suite 320. Ross Chiropractic, helping your body heal itself. Because when your spine's in line, you will feel fine. Call 954-9591. That's 954-9591 for Ross Chiropractic.
On Record Store Day, hundreds of vinyl music recordings are set out for you, many of them special releases. Music new and vintage. Exclusive issues sold only at independents such as For the Record at Northgate Mall. Thumb through any hundreds of records and CDs on Record Store Day, April 18th on Saturday. It's our biggest day of the year, putting you into the music you love. Doors open at 10, but every year a line begins earlier. The celebrations and crowds last till 9. Super sale prices, hugely expanded inventory, and many special releases. Vinyl records, CDs, cassettes, posters, memorabilia, DVDs, VHS, and all day prizes, free music, and food. You can attend a concert nearby in the mall if you like. For the Record is one of the few remaining real music stores in Chattanooga for collectors of vinyl, for music lovers. For the Record. See you Saturday.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy